Hey everyone, and welcome to the Cozy Junk Studio. This is Sharon. We are back with a cool Dollar Tree meets IOD and add in some junk video. We're going to make over these things in the true Cozy Junk Studio style, and we're going to start with these little pots from Dollar Tree. You can get these in a pack of 3. They're terracotta. There are so many things you can do with these. We're going to use 2 of them and add a couple of transfers. And then we're going to use the third one for something even cooler. Right now we're just adding some, I think it's Parchment by Waverly chalk paint to these as a coat for our not transfer. Sorry, we're using recycled. This is called catalog paper, and I just cut out a few images that I wanted to use that was kind of in the neutral range. Now I'm using the DIY liquid patina to put these on with. Mod Podge is just as good. The DIY liquid patina is a little bit thinner mixture, so it is great to do this type of work with. I interchange and use Mod Podge as well. I just tore around the edges of these, and when I didn't want to place the image all the way around, but I did kind of want to hit the sides with some, so I found some similar pieces and just tore them and added them where I wanted them. Once I get the images where I want them, I do let this dry. I come back, I sand off the excess just to give it a clean, neat look on the edges, and now I'm just doing a light brushing on the inside. This third pot, we are going to add some E6000, a little bit of hot glue for stability right away, this wood coaster, and turn this into a little base for our cloche that's coming up. Now this cloche coming up is a plastic one from the Dollar Tree. It came with its own base, and right now I'm just adding some dark wax to that same paint. I've given it a little bit of a distressed coat. And I do end up getting this a little dark. I add some white wax, and then I had some clear wax, sorry. Then I brush some of that paint right back over it because I felt like it was just too dark and too distressed. And, you know, there are processes that say, don't paint over wax, don't do this, don't do that. You know what? I just do what I like and what looks good. And I've never had a problem with any of it coming off or causing a problem. That doesn't mean it won't. It depends on a lot of things. So now that I've got this kind of looking how I want, I'm going to go back in and distress it just a little bit with a little sanding block. I'm going to add some liquid patina to seal this in, and then we're going to work on our inside of the cloche. We're going to start with this little fuzzy, furry, I don't know, faux grass covered bunny, but I don't like the very bright green. We're going to tone that down with some paint. It's so easy to tone down stuff like this with paint. I do it on greenery as well. I grab a couple of my FOLKART paints, just the acrylics, in a couple different greens. I think one is like aloe and one is moss. And I just start adding it until I get it how I want it to look. Now you can see the difference in these, and I love the new difference. If your fur mats up on that when you paint it, just go ahead and take a little toothbrush or something, and just brush that back up and it comes back up. Now I'm just using some Tite Bond as a permanent hold, and then some hot glue as a temporary hold for this wood piece and the bunny. The rest I'm just going to use hot glue to the wood because it's lighter weight stuff and it shouldn't go anywhere. At this point, you can just add really whatever you want inside of here, just to kind of make a little area vignette. I'm adding some rocks from the Dollar Tree and so on. And now I'm just going to place that clear. It's a plastic cloche back over top of this, and I decided that I really want to put something on the front of it at the bottom. And so I got out my IOD paint inlays, and I found this really cute plant, and I'm just kind of cutting it in half and using mostly the top. And I'm going to use Mod Podge. I really enjoy using clear for these instead of having to use paint, because most of the time when I get ready to do my paint inlays, I've already got the paint dried and I don't want to put another thick coat of paint on, so I just use Mod Podge and it works great. I just follow the instructions, spraying that with water. After I get it stuck down in that Mod Podge, I let it dry really good, then I spray it with the water again and I pull it right off, and voila, it's that simple. We're just distressing this back a little bit, and then we're going to add a coat of Mod Podge to seal that in. Now what do you all think of this one? Comment below if this is one of your favorite. Now this next project, we're going to be using these cork-like frames from the Dollar Tree and a printable that I got off of Etsy, and I'll leave a link for that below. All I did was print them out and then cut them down to the 5x7 size or 4x6, I'm not sure. And then I added a coat of the Waverly chalk paint in plaster, and now I'm just taking some tan and gray paint and just kind of smearing it, brushing it a little bit here and there on the frame to give it an age look. And I did do some distressing. I'm going to add a coat of liquid patina, and these are done. There's also lots of free art online that you can print off yourself as well. Now this next project is going to be this little crate of 6 eggs from the Dollar Tree. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to paint the base of this that plaster color, and I'm going to paint all the eggs that plaster color. Now I like to do things in sets of 2 or 3, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to put some of these book pages on these eggs. And I'm going to be using a glue stick. You can use Mod Podge, but I like to use a glue stick for my base coat. I get my paper on it, and then I go back with a coat of Mod Podge over top of that. It's less messier, especially if you're having a Mod Podge on something that is not flat. Now don't forget, all the projects will be in photos at the end of this video. When I finish them, you will get to see them. Right, now we're going to go ahead and go to the next step, which is going to be stamping on 2 of these eggs. But before we do that, we're going to antique these with some watered down antiquing wax from Waverly. We are going to use one of the new IOD antiquity stamps to stamp on 2 more of the eggs. I'm going to use my Stays On Stone Gray. I'm using the Stays On brand because it dries almost immediately, and since these are round, they're going to be hard to lay on something to dry without rolling. So we're going to go ahead and use the Stays On, and we're going to stamp 2 of the round insignia type stamps on to the eggs. I'm just adding some more of that watered down Waverly wax, antiquing wax, to give it more of a antique look. For the last 2 eggs, we're going to use some DIY paints in several colors in weathered wood, sandy blonde, and prairie gray. I'm trying to make the woods the eggs, Lord, I can't speak, trying to make them look like they are old wood eggs. In hindsight, I should have put a skewer in the bottom of these and then painted them that way, but I put them in that box and rolled them around. Alright, so now on the egg carton, I am putting some of that watered down wax just to kind of age it to match the eggs. Once we finish with that, then I'm going to go over the just the eggs with the paper. They're dry now from that Mod Podge, and all those little crevices and corners that kind of stick up from the paper, I'm just going to sand those down, and it makes it look really cool. Y'all, I just wanted you to know that I had 3 hours of video of these eggs because I kept stopping and starting and stopping and starting, and it did not really take me that long, but really 3 hours of video, oh my gosh, I really had to cut this down. It was crazy. And that is exactly why I cut out a lot of things and I speed up these videos. And don't forget, you can slow down the video with the settings in the bottom right hand corner. You can slow them down as much as you want or speed them up even more. And the reason that this is very slow right now that you're watching it is because I actually cut out way too much and didn't have enough video to talk through it and explain it. So I had to slow them down. The joys of videos and editing. Alright, so right now what we're doing is we're putting some liquid patina over this as a top coat, and it looks so beautiful. The difference between liquid patina and Mod Podge is liquid patina is a much thinner. It's water-based as well, but it's just a thin coat. Mod Podge can get very heavy and thick, although you can water down the Mod Podge as well. Alright, now to finish these off, I am adding some DIY white wax, and then I'm going to rub that back, and it just makes these eggs look so beautiful. And not because I did them, but the products really make a difference in what you do. It's not necessarily the quality of the products, but the different types of products. You can have cheap, you can have middle, and you can have expensive products, but using them together really makes items look so cool. Now here is a sneak peek of the eggs in their crate as they are finished. But like I said, the photos will be at the end of the video. So this next piece is a metal, I guess, lampshade that probably went over candles back in the day. I'm sure it was used for maybe other things as well. So I'm trying out, well, not trying out, I have used milk paint a couple of times before, but I'm using a Sweet Pickins milk paint in creamy on this. And I really like how it turned out. I've been wanting to play with it some. You just mix it the equal parts. So if you put in 1 cup of milk paint, then you put in 1 cup of water. And as it dries, it starts to flake off. You can also help that along with a heat gun, which I did, I think, and I don't think that's on camera. But I really like how this turned out. You can see the crackling, and you can even just take your finger and pull some of it off. A lot of it stuck to it, which was definitely how I wanted it. So I went ahead and did a little distressing with my zip sander, and I'm going to add some white wax and then some antique wax. I always put white wax or clear wax first, so when I put my dark wax or black wax, that I can pull some of that back off and it doesn't stick so easy. Now this next piece is I'm calling salvage. I had a couple candlesticks that were crooked and glued that way, and they were wood. They were painted black, and I had white waxed them, but I just couldn't stand the crookedness, so I cut them up into these little salvage pieces. I even left the cut marks on the ends, and now I'm just adding some weathered wood DIY paint, and I'm going to put a stencil on here. I'm just going to put this number 5 over it, and I use the Waverly plaster paint to stencil it with, and I'll have some of these products linked below. These are stencil brushes I got off Amazon, and I think I may have got this stencil off Amazon. I'll try to find some similar. Now I'm just adding some white wax to this, and I'm going to wipe it back so it'll look like that dark wood. And anytime you do this with DIY paints, it makes it look splotchy, but once it dries, it's not splotchy. And now this is the liquid patina. I'm just putting a little coat over that, and I'm just going to use this to lay in my little vignettes. I do end up putting an end on these, like a half flat bead, and you'll see it in the photos. Now this next piece is a candlestick, and it has sort of a brownish red tone, and I'm going to paint that in the weathered wood. I love distressing this back and adding white wax to it. It just turns out so beautiful. Anything does with that weathered wood and white wax. It is my favorite color of paint right now, and this vignette is mostly got the creams and the weathered wood in it, and I just love how it turns out. Very heavy on this white wax. I wanted to make sure I got it down in those crevices, and that I left quite a bit on this candlestick. Again, you can see that the paint looks splotchy because it reabsorbs until it dries. The DIY paint does, where it's clay based, and I love that. Let me know what you think about this in the comments below. I love hearing back from you guys about the things that you like that I've done, or things that I could do differently, or even if it's not your style. I get those comments too. Alright, so this next piece is, I'm calling it an architectural piece, even though if you flip it up, it's actually a shelf and it can hang on a wall. I'm going to use it as a standing up piece in my studio. And I'm using the milk paint on this. Now this has a very shiny surface, and I knew there would be a lot of flaking. I was prepared for that. I go ahead and put 2 coats of the milk paint on this and get it all thick, and then I let it set off to dry. I don't use a heat gun on this. Now with milk paint, you only want to mix up what you're going to use in one setting. Alright, so here is our piece, and you see it has a lot of the chipping, which I really wanted. However, if I would have just rubbed over this, the whole thing would have chipped off. So I decided that I was going to take some Mod Podge and go over all of the places, and even try to get under where some of it was cracking, just to not lose all of it. And it worked. It worked so well, and so even when the pieces fell off, I just hit Mod Podge and just put them back on, which made it look even chippier, you guys. I mean, it was an experiment, and I really loved how it turned out. Alright, so then I started white waxing it, and I was thinking, what if I added some paint back over these chipped places to make it look like somebody had started trying to fix the chipping? So I did that. So I went ahead and just took some of that plaster chalk paint, not the milk paint, and went over these places, and then kind of rubbed some of them back. Tell me what you think in the comments below. Do you think this is cool, that it looks like somebody tried to fix the chipping, but there was still chipping? Alright, so we are going to put some more white wax back over this, because I don't want my dark wax to completely cover this up, and the milk paint's kind of flat, so that's going to give it a barrier. And now you can see I'm putting that dark wax on, and it's not just totally turning it dark. And I love how this piece turned out, and like I said, this is staying in my office. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Do you have any other cool tricks with milk paint? Now I do leave the back of this brown, and I go ahead and take my sander and just sand off the overage of the paint. And if I decide that I'm going to show the back, I might paint that later, probably just a chalk paint and distress it. Because like I said, it's going to go up against a wall in my studio. Okay, so this next project, I was inspired by some risers that I saw at Hobby Lobby, and I wanted to make some of the beaded risers, which this is only one, but you know, there's more time to come. So what I did was I just put all my beads on a skewer to paint them, and then I thought, you know, why don't I just leave them on the skewer and just put them on with the skewer. Still using some of these little cutting boards that came with that charcuterie set of the house we cleaned out. There was like 6 of these things, and so like I said, they have the holes in them, and I don't care. That just looks even more used to me. I didn't fill it in. You can. So I just used weathered wood, and now I'm just distressing some of those edges back. So how I'm going to do this is I'm going to put some of the TITE Bond wood glue, just dabbing on the bottoms. I don't want to put too much because I don't want it seeping around too much, and you can see a lot of dried glue. So I put it just on the bottoms, and now on the inside I'm going with my hot glue gun, and I've got the Sure Bonder, I think the wood type hot glue in there, and I'm just going to put a little bit under each back of each wood ball. Sorry, that was a lot. And it worked perfect. And then I'm just going to cut the ends off these sticks and paint where I cut it, and do the same thing all the way around. Now as you can see where I painted that weathered wood, there is bleed through from maybe oils where this was used as a cutting board, and I don't care. I think that just adds to it. Alright, I'm using these wood knobs. I found these at a junk store for 49 cents. I think there were 6 in it or 8. And I'm using the same technique. The wood glue is going to be short-term hold, so I can get this put together, and then the TITE Bond is going to be long-term hold. Now we're just painting these to match the weathered wood. All the beads, everything is painted, and I think what I do on this is use my DIY dark wax first, and then the white wax is going to finish this off, and I can't help it. I just love this one. Let me know what you guys think. Would you have filled the holes in? Would you have tried to get put a sealer so that those oils or maybe something, whatever was cut on there, didn't bleed through? I just love that it looks kind of salvagey. Let me know in the comments below. I really laid the dark wax and the white wax from DIY to this piece, and I just love it. Love, love, love it. That white wax just did it for me, and like I said, you see me, I am just using. Okay, so this next piece is this cute little bunny. This bunny's actually metal, and I'll tell you how I know that here in a minute. So weathered wood for the win for the bunny, and I think I did a little bit of white wax. I think I've missed some pieces here. I think I did a little bit of white wax and then a clear coat of the liquid patina. So I had this little stand that had a little chalkboard thing on it, and I don't know if they came from the Dollar Tree. I got a bunch of them in a bunch of junk. And now I'm using a Dollar Tree pot to stay with the Dollar Tree theme throughout. And this was one of the ones that come in the 3 pieces. So I'm just taking this knife and whittling down this to poke through the hole that was actually in this. It was an ornament. It had a hanger at the top, but there's a little hole underneath. So check your things and see if there's holes for you to put them on stands. Alright, so I'm using some TITE Bond, just all in one, the quick and thick, and I'm using some hot glue too for the temporary hold, and I'm just going to put this through and stick it, make sure it sticks to the top of that plant potter. You'll see. So the hole on this bunny is kind of towards the back, which it does not make it uneven when it's on the stand, but I was thinking about filling that in and drilling a hole right in the center. And when I tried to use my Dremel to do that, I realized this was metal and I didn't want to fool with that, so I just left it. But where the hole is, it doesn't mess with the balance of the bunny. And I did the same thing with the hole at the top. I did hot glue and quick and thick, so the bunny will be there on that stick for a long time. And I am, it was off center there, so because it's still drying. Anyway, so I'm using plaster to paint the base of this and the stick. And I do end up using some dark wax on both of those pieces. So I decided that the base needed some character. So I am using a IOD, one of their texture stamps. I'm not sure what they're called, but they come in a pack of 4 and they are awesome. So I'm using, again, that same stone gray in the Stays On ink, just to kind of put those crackles everywhere that I want or distressing. And then I do the white wax first and then the dark wax. And this bunny is staying in my studio. What do you all think about this bunny? Would you do this when you find a little character, put a little hole in the bottom of it and stick it on a Dollar Tree planter? Let me know in the comments below. Now this bunny is going to get a little twine bow. I got this twine at the Dollar Tree last July. They had it out for the holiday 4th of July season. Our last project, I was unable to get the video, but what I did was I took a bag of those styrofoam bunnies and I used weathered wood and white wax, and these are little fillers or little bowl fillers. Here we go with the photos. Here is our cloche bunny. The pot and the top is from the Dollar Tree and the little bunny inside and most of the items. Here is our Dollar Tree frame with a printable in it. Here is our Dollar Tree eggs, and this is our thrifted metal lampshade. And don't forget our cute little salvage pieces from those candlesticks. And the candle holder. I'm tired, y'all, it's late. I'm trying to get this video out. Here is the what I'm calling architectural salvage that was probably from Kirkland's years ago. And the riser. Oh, I'm in love with this thing, you guys. Let me know again in the comments below if you like this. And here's our pot from the Dollar Tree, and I already have a live baby plant in it. And here is the vignette of all of our pieces. Now don't forget to like this video and subscribe, and wait for part 2. I can't wait to see you in that video. Thank you all for watching. There's something